Trump, Donald Trump, the Donald, whatever you want to call him, he's a man who loves spectacle, and he's certainly a man who loves scoring firsts in the world. We don't know what he's going to think about this one, however. Historic indictment of the 76-year-old former U.S. president makes him the first former president of the U.S. to face criminal charges. A New York grand jury has indicted Donald Trump over hush money worth $130,000 made in payments to porn star Stormy Daniels during his 2016 campaign to make her shut up about their sexual encounter back in 2006. And here's the rub. Donald Trump will have to surrender himself come this Tuesday. Take a look at this report.
A grand jury in New York voted to indict former President Donald Trump, two sources said on Thursday, making him the first ex-president to face criminal charges in U.S. history. The indictment, arising from an investigation into hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels, could reshape the 2024 presidential race. The specific charges related to the probe, led by Democratic Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, are not yet known. The New York Times reported that the indictment will likely be announced in the coming days. A lawyer representing Trump said she was informed of the indictment, but did not know when he would surrender. Bragg's office did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
We're witnessing American history. Never has a former president been indicted or charged with the crime, and that's what we're seeing here.
Nima Rahmani is a former federal prosecutor and the president of West Coast Trial Lawyers.
Trump will be given the opportunity to appear in court. He's not going to be arrested. Now, he will be booked, which means he'll be fingerprinted. He'll have his mugshot taken. His attorneys, of course, will plead not guilty for him. I don't expect there to be any pretrial resolution in this case, and we're going to see the most politically charged trial in American history.
The grand jury began hearing evidence in January about Trump's role in the hush money payment to Daniels days before the 2016 presidential election that he ended up winning. Daniels, an adult film actress whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, has said she received the money in exchange for keeping silent about a sexual encounter she had with Trump in 2006. The former president's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, has said Trump directed hush money payments to Daniels. Trump has denied having an affair with her. Federal prosecutors examined the Daniels payoff in 2018, leading to a prison sentence for Cohen, but no charges against Trump. No former sitting U.S. president has ever faced criminal charges. Trump also faces criminal investigations led by a special counsel appointed by the U.S. Attorney General over his handling of classified government documents after leaving office and his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He also faces an investigation led by a local prosecutor in Georgia into whether he unlawfully tried to overturn his 2020 election defeat in that state. Trump previously said he would continue campaigning for the Republican Party's nomination in the presidential race if he was charged with a crime.
Let's go straight across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan, who's been tracking all of these developments very closely. Geeta, what does this do to the re-election campaign of Donald Trump? And personally, I can't wait to see what happens on Tuesday. Donald Trump loves the cameras. He loves spectacle. I wonder how this is going to play out.
Well, he's already begun by saying that this is absolute political persecution, and that certainly is going to be his side of the story through and through. But this is not the only case. This is one of the minor cases, like we've pointed out in the reports, Shiv. There are many serious charges against him, many cases pending. We'll have to see how those cases turn out in the days to come, and it is going to be a very difficult ask for Donald Trump to actually be nominated as the Republican nominee for the presidential elections. It's the Republican primaries that we're looking at, and there are very strong contenders there. So a difficult road ahead, but we know Trump to be a fighter. He loves the cameras. He will have his own shenanigans. So let's wait it out and see how Trump is really going to play out this entire scenario. He has seen adversity, Shiv, and he's fought adversities and won in more than one occasion. So let's wait and see how this turns out. But this certainly is historic, given that this is the first time either a current or a former president of the United States of America has actually been charged.
Very, very interesting. Curious to know, Geeta, very quickly, whether there's been, a kind of unofficial inside view that the Indian government or the Indian Foreign Office is taking on these developments, because it's clear that countries are monitoring what's happening in other countries these days.
Well, the Indian side, Shiv, it is very important. Republican Party, per se, is a party that the Indian administration engages very, very closely.
Yes.
Donald Trump is one of those leaders in the Republican Party that still holds the money bags. So we'll have to wait and see how that really plays out, whether it's going to be Donald Trump himself or somebody that he endorses later.
Right.
And that's the reason why the Indian side will not be taking sides, will continue engaging the Republicans, and if need be, will continue engaging Trump.
Interesting. Can't wait till next week to see how this actually plays out. Geeta, appreciate it. Thanks very much for putting that into perspective for us. Lots of curiosity, of course, about what happens next for Donald Trump. What does indictment mean? What happens to him? Is he going to be behind bars? How does it actually play out? Let me just clarify it for you. Now, the grand jury investigation is what will basically happen next. Donald Trump has been indicted. He's been indicted, which means he's the first US president to face criminal charges after being indicted by that New York grand jury over hush money payments. Now, there are two options staring at Donald Trump. Either voluntary surrender or he faces arrest. We hear he's going to surrender. Trump can be processed as a defendant, and his fingerprints and photos will be taken like any other person who's arrested. After that, Trump will face what is called an arraignment, which will include public court appearances, charges against him read out, and an unsealed envelope containing those charges made available to the public. Trump's team can also enter a not guilty plea at this time. After that, post the arraignment, Trump will go through what is called pre-trial hearings that will include defense motions and possibly damning witness accounts. Perhaps Stormy Daniels will take the stand as well. Trump will then face his actual trial. If Trump is found guilty, he will be sentenced after that. If he's not found guilty, he will be acquitted of all and the charges against him, and then he will continue. Very important to also note, viewer, that the current case against him does not bar him legally from contesting for the Republican nomination for a re-election to the presidency next year. Very important to note. We'll be tracking that story.